One of the most speculated topics in the Power Ranger fandom is why Austin St. John, Tui Trang, and Walter Jones left Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Although there have been answers over the years, there's never been a clear-cut one, but thanks to an interaction at a comic convention gone wrong, we finally have the truth. For those unaware, Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Tui Trang, who portrayed Jason Lee Scott, Zach Taylor, and Trini Kwan respectively, left the show during the filming of Season 2 of MMPR due to contract disputes. Depending on who you ask, this occurred because the three agreed to strike and they had everyone, but the other half of the team changed their mind. Some wanted to pursue other roles, or Saban changed their mind on paying the actors more. According to ASJ and Walter Jones in a video titled Why We Left Power Rangers, We Tell the Story Together, that originally aired for members only on the channel Fanward, Videos for Comic-Con Fans in January 2024, the two state that all 6 of them were prepared to strike and renegotiate a contract for more pay. They state that different people for different reasons changed their mind, and obviously that would be David Yost, Amy Jo, and Jason Frank. It's also known that they maintained that they were paid $600 a week for filming, which would amount to $1,310.72 in 2024.
This is the part that gets me.
Okay.
We agreed that we were going to stick together as a unit.
Right.
We were going to fight this together.
Right. That didn't happen.
Very nice about this.
Well, different people for the different reasons changed their mind. Obviously, that would be Amy Jo and David Yost and Jason Frank. And all of them had their own reasons for deciding, you know what, we don't want to renegotiate the contract after all. We're just going to grin and bear it. But we wanted to stand up for ourselves because we felt like we were being bullied and we felt like we deserved more and that we had earned the right to be treated like professional actors.
However, Walter Jones appeared in a video titled TRC, the one with Walter E. Jones, the original Black Power Ranger, on the YouTube channel The Real Showcast that premiered on July 31st, 2019, contradicts this. He would state, 3 of us decided to band together to march into the office, meaning that it wasn't all 6 of the idea to strike, but just Walter Jones, Austin St. John, and Tui Trang.
At the end, we have these contracts, and 3 of us, we all sat down together. It was like, all right, guys, come on, look, we've been screwed for the last two years. Yeah. You know, everybody's made money except for us. We paid our dues. Right. We owe it to ourselves to at least get a lawyer this time. Right. We can get a lawyer this time. He can no longer threaten us and go, hey, if you come back, then I'll fire you. We can negotiate this time. Well,
so you thought.
Divide and conquer.
And yet another version of the story is contradicted as told by Walter Jones. He appeared on the Power Rangers Playback YouTube channel in a live stream titled Live with Walter Jones on May 9th, 2023. In this version, he mentions that they walked off set when their contract was up, and another key detail that neither Austin or Walter mentioned before. They were offered more money and a chance to renegotiate, but decided not to.
Walter, do you remember the last day on set in '94? Did you know it was your last day?
I remember the last day. I did not know that it was my last day. My contract was ending, but we were still working. So I think our contract ended at noon, and we were renegotiating our contract. So at noon, we packed our stuff, got in our cars, and drove away. And they're like, where are you going? I was like, our contract's over. We have to renegotiate. So we were all supposed to go and do that, but that didn't happen. So 3 stayed, three left. We started renegotiating the contract. And then they decided, well, you know what? We'll just pay the other ones extra to stay, and we'll get 3 new actors, and that's what they did. So we weren't expecting to leave. We were expecting to renegotiate and then, make everything better. So it was better for everyone. But at the end of the day, that's not what happened.
This makes you wonder if ASJ and Walter changed some details of their story since JDF had passed, RIP to the GOAT. The story that ASJ and Walter tell is also contradicted by someone else that was in the show and not even a Ranger, but rather a voice actor, Kerrigan Mahan, the voice of Goldar. In a live stream titled Power Rangers Unmasked, Kerrigan Mahan reveals the secrets behind Goldar's voice on the Ranger Stop and Pop channel on April 4th, 2024. Kerrigan talked about his conversation with Austin St. John on him wanting to strike. First, he disputed that they weren't being paid $600 but more, and although unsure of the exact figure, that it could be either $1,200 to $1,500 a week, which would be $2,621.43 up to $3,276.79 a week in 2024. Second, it was Austin's idea to strike just for himself, and Kerrigan told him that he could not do a successful strike by himself. He told ASJ that all the actors would have to ask for their raises, not just one person, as when he and the voice actors would go ask for a raise, they would all do it, not just one person. Third, Kerrigan stated that a week and a half later, Austin St. John managed to convince 2 other people, and the former said, "I hope one of them is the Pink Ranger. If not, he needs to at least get Jason David Frank to strike with him."
I don't record with Austin. He does his stuff by himself. We're all by ourselves, okay? And he stops me. I'm on my way out. He's on his way in, or vice versa. And he said, "Can I talk to you, man?" I said, yeah, what's up? You got to remember now, I'm a 40-year-old man. He's an 18-year-old kid. These are kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they're being worked. And I mean, they're being worked. They're doing 12, 14, 15, 16-hour days. In some cases, 7 days a week.
Jesus Christ.
And I believe, and I this is where I might be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but I believe I said the other day, I think they were being paid $1,500 a week. Somebody corrected me and said, no, it was 12.
Jesus.
So Austin said, what do we do? We got to get more money. And I said, well, how many of you of the 5 are on your side? He said, I don't know. He said, I'm speaking for me right now. I said, well, you're not going to do it, Austin, Red Ranger or not. When we go get our raises, I say our, not Goldar.
Right.
Goldar, Rita, Axelrod.
Yes.
Michael Sorich for Babu. I mean, Dave Mallow, Babu, Michael Sorich for Squat. We went in, all 5 of us. And even though Mallow was always a little timid about it, and, you know, there were those of us that were stronger and those of us that were weaker. But the bottom line is we went in all 5 of us. And that is how we got our bump every time. And we got multiple bumps through those 4 years. And I said, Austin, you've got to get everybody. And he came to me about a week and a half later, maybe. He said, well, I got 3. Oh, shit. I said, okay, you got 3. I hope one of those 3 is Pink. He said, it's not. I said, you're in trouble. Who do you got? He said, I got Twee and I got Walter.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know, buddy. The betting windows are open, and I'm not putting money on it, and I'm not betting against you, but I'm not taking the bet.
Yeah.
You have to at least, even if you can't get Amy, you got to get the other one, and so that she's the odd man out. But ideally, you all go. And that was the end of that. That was the end of that. And he said, well, we're gone. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And that was the end of that.
Now, before we get to David Yost's story, I'd like to point out another story that contradicts ASJ and Walter's story about striking from Jason David Frank. In a phone interview, JDF stated that they, assuming he means Austin St. John, who he just mentioned prior to saying that they wanted to strike, Walter Jones and Twee Trang, that they wanted to strike, but he didn't want to because he had a family to feed. While it's likely he exaggerated it was $1 million per episode, we know they wanted to be paid more.
You know, and all those guys did. Austin did, and all those guys did. They wanted, they want to strike and $1 million an episode, and I had a family to feed. I couldn't do that kind of stuff.
It's interesting to note that in another interview titled Coliseum Forum Jason David Frank on the YouTube channel Coliseum of Comics that was streamed on December 10th, 2020, JDF mentions that during one of his years on Power Rangers, he was able to cut the IRS a check for $212,000. Now, it's no secret that Tommy Oliver was the golden goose of the Power Rangers franchise, so Saban more than likely upped JDF's salary to convince him to stay. But I also speculate that Saban also would have paid Yost and Amy Jo more for staying as well to appease them in the event that another strike did take place. That's just a theory, but who knows?
You have to understand, I wasn't there for that. I was there for stability in my life. I was happy. I was proud. I was like a superhero.
Yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
care about the money. I didn't even, and when other people left, guess who got paid more by not asking? I did. And when it came to Turbo, we'll talk about this. And I know you got questions, and I hate talking all the time.
No, that's okay. You're getting us caught up.
Okay, so we're doing that. I came back as the White Ranger. The movie comes up.
Yeah.
You know, we got paid decent money for the movie, but I'm not looking at the money. I'm looking at, are we working? Is the show on again? Yeah, my White Ranger, cool. The suits are awesome. We're kids. We're going to Australia. And I really feel at this time, when people complain about making money, I can truthfully say 1 year in my Power Ranger career, I wrote an IRS check for $212,000. And I never told anyone that. But the reason why I'm telling you that is when I wrote that check, I was like, this is a house. That's when I realized I got money in the bank. Maybe I should buy a house.
I would also like to add that another version of the story that Austin St. John had told also has a detail which isn't supported by any other actor. In a live stream on the YouTube channel Power Rangers Playback, which took place on April 20th, 2022, Austin St. John said that Jason David Frank had stabbed us in the back and had converted David Yost and Amy Jo into Stain.
They knew I was leaving, knew they had already divided the team because Jason Frank had stabbed us in the back and had converted David Yost and Amy Jo, talked them into staying. So now the team was divided, and they had already promised him the White Ranger role because he wanted the leadership slot and knew he would get it if I left. So it would have been right after he filmed the White Ranger episode.
In another video titled Coliseum Forum, Austin St. John, the original Red Power Ranger, on the YouTube channel Coliseum of Comics published on November 19th, 2020, he accused that JDF and the others were cut a side deal, which to this day has never been supported by any other actor, and because of this, he calls JDF Frankendouche for betraying the team and not having morals.
And then at the end, they cut Jason Frank, Amy, and Dave cut a side deal, probably through Frank, where after they all promised to walk with us and band together, it was only Walter Twee and I that had the balls to stand up for what was right. And now the Frankendouche says to the world, you got to have thick skin if you're in Hollywood. Okay, or you can have no standards.
Sure, absolutely.
Choice is yours. So that's kind of how that went down.
The rivalry between the two is well documented, so one could easily speculate that perhaps Austin was more mad at JDF for not taking part in the strike. Finally, we have a more recent story that would contradict what Walter Jones and Austin St. John have claimed that happened back in 1994. During the weekend of May 17th through May 19th of 2024, a multi-fandom convention called MetroHamCon 2024 took place in Chattanooga, Tennessee. One of the celebrity guests at the convention was David Yost, the original Mighty Morphin Blue Power Ranger. He had an interaction with Power Ranger fan Brent Pham where he disputed the story that ASJ and Walter told in the Fanward video, stating that the team never agreed to strike and it was a big lie on their part. The six never agreed to take part in a strike. While David had never watched the video, he had seen the promo, as the full video was originally members only at the time in January 2024, and knew that they weren't telling the truth. This interaction was requested to be deleted by David, which is a whole story in of itself, but thanks to some clever video retrieval, Brent was able to recover the footage and put this out.
Alright. I have a quick question. So, Austin and Walter recently did a video on what happened with the walkout. Okay. And could I play it? Sure. Is it a long video? Oh no. Oh no, I don't want to watch that one. Oh. I don't agree. They lied. Oh, they did? At the beginning of it. Oh, so you guys never agreed to? We never agreed to that. So I don't, that was a big lie. Oh, okay. There was never an agreement between the six of us that we were going to stick together, so. Oh, so basically it was just a situation where they wanted to negotiate while you guys too. I mean, in theory, yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah. Just the way they wasn't accurate. Oh, it wasn't accurate. It wasn't accurate. Oh, it wasn't accurate. Okay. Because it's been making the rounds recently. I don't know if you watched it. I didn't watch it. No, I just saw that first part and I was like. Okay.
Additionally, it should be also noted that in an interview with No Pink Spandex on September 17th, 2012, Amy was not on board with the idea of striking and that Austin, Walter, and Twee chose to leave and strike. She also recognized that people are expendable, and for that reason, that may have not been why she wanted to strike if she was going to risk losing her job.
The year before, Austin and Walter and Twee had left.
Right.
They wanted it to go union, and and that was, they had every right to want that. And I was just naive and young and stupid. And David left too. And no, David stayed. What am I talking about? And me and David and Jason stayed. And in hindsight, I wonder if we all band together. I wonder what would have happened. I wonder if we would have become union. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, what did so they went in by themselves, like, look, we want to become union?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they said, really? You want to become union? Okay, I'm just going to replace you guys. And then so became like sort of the Power Ranger thing, is that I always say it's kind of like Menudo, right? Because like the members in the band always changed. So we became completely replaceable, right? Which is, I think, basically the truth on any show, really.
Right.
People are expendable at the end of the day.
Here's my verdict. It's clear that Walter Jones and Austin St. John are lying about not only why they left the show, but also who was part of the strike. Plain and simple, they were fired for asking more money than what was offered. More so, the blame falls on ASJ, who was advised not to strike until they had the whole team together. It's also interesting how their story has changed over the years, and as much as Bret Hart gets memed on a lot for his dislike of Goldberg, who ended his career, his telling of stories of what happened in his wrestling career has always been consistent, and he is someone who actually would have endured more injuries than any of the actors would have on the Power Rangers show, even after having a stroke in the 2000s. My guess on why David Yost didn't want the footage to get out is that it would have harmed a business relationship that he had with either Walter or ASJ if they teamed up for conventions. Finally, it's a shame that ASJ continues to perpetuate this lie after JDF had passed, and while they didn't necessarily need to be best friends, even Jason suggested to his fans that Austin should be given some grace for the mistakes he made.
Watch his whole interview and watch how he literally just hates me. Watch my interview on Comics Coliseum. And when you watch it, tell me now's the opportunity where I could jab, and I'm not going to. Here's what I'm going to tell you. When this comes out and he talks, forgive him. Straight up. People make mistakes. Certain people know how he is and all. Yeah, I'm too nice. It's just the way it is. Forgive him. Make your own judgments. Do not let it destroy your childhood dreams of Power Rangers, okay? We all make mistakes.
And another glaring detail, Fanward re-uploaded the Austin St. John and Walter Jones video seemingly after David Yost's interaction got leaked. But what do I know? I'm just a fan trying to put the pieces together.